Hey, in this video, I'm going to show you how I took a few scraps from my shop and turned it into the perfect Valentine's gift.
So I started by printing out the design that I wanted, and then I took a few measurements to get the overall aspect ratio that I wanted, and then I could create a dimension north to south, which I wanted to be around 18. And so I knew that 18 was my north and south dimension, and the aspect ratio was about 2.5. So I was able to approximate that to around 48 inches length. Then I went over to the scrap bin, picked out some offcuts from some previous projects, and used those to start laying out the overall design. There were plenty more offcuts and scraps up in the lumber racks that I've been hoarding for years. This is the perfect opportunity to use some of those. After I gathered all the materials, I then brought them over and split them into the various species. I started with the chop saw, followed by the table saw. There were a few pieces with live edge and imperfections, so I cut those out. I started off by cutting all of the pieces roughly the same length. After I was done cutting and trimming all the pieces, I started to lay them out just to get a feel for what I was looking at, and then intermingling the different color species to create a sort of random desired effect. After I had the pieces that were the same length randomized by species, I referred back to the design that I had on paper, and I started to cut to length the pieces to mimic the design. This process really wasn't any rocket science. I just wanted to roughly create the same design that was on the paper. After I had all the pieces cut and sanded, I took some CA glue on every individual piece and started assembling from one side to the next. I didn't want any of that glue to come up through the cracks of each individual piece, so I favored the bottom of each strip. When I made it to roughly the center, I switched sides and started working from the other end, and eventually I would join those two whole pieces together. Then I flipped the whole thing over and gave it a light sanding just to get rid of any high spots. And then I was ready to mount a couple strips on the back. These strips serve three functions. First, they help to keep everything flat so that there is no cupping. The second function is one of the strips will be used as a lip to hang the piece. And then the third is I really like the idea of the piece sitting against the wall, and with the strips on the back, it'll have more of a floating look, so it'll stick off the wall and create a nice sight line.
And that's it. Here it is. This is one of the more personalized Valentine's gifts that I've ever made. My wife loved it. I love how it looks here in the foyer. And if you like it or you have any questions, let me know. Subscribe to the channel, give me a like, helps me a lot, and I'll see you on the next one.